Everyone talks about the fear of failure. But what about the fear of success? What if deep down you're afraid of being wealthy? Sounds strange, but it's actually more common than you think. Let's talk about it. This is something I have struggled with myself, so I can be transparent here. Now, welcome back to Money Moves for Women in Business, and I'm Jackie, and today we're exploring something often unspoken: why some women quietly fear having more money, and how that fear is stopping them from ever getting it. Okay, right, so what the fear of wealth looks like, because sometimes you may not even recognize it. So let's talk about that. You may not say, I'm afraid to be rich, but it can show up like this: you undercharge, even though you know you shouldn't, or you overgive and you feel resentful when you overgive. You sabotage growth when it finally starts working, or you feel guilty or unsure when more money does come in. These are all signs of money discomfort, not because of lack, but because of what having more might actually mean. Now, where this fear comes from, it's not about like you're greedy or, anything like that. It's more about stories or things that you've told yourself or things that you've experienced or what you've been taught, right? And some of these things are, and I used to think this when I was younger: wealthy people are selfish or disconnected, or money causes conflict or changes relationships. That's one I used to think about. Success comes at a cost. I used to think this one as well. Your time, your peace, your values. Or you may have religious beliefs around the love of money, right? Or maybe no one around you had wealth, so it feels unfamiliar. So it might not be any of those. It might just feel unsafe, right? So without realizing it, you're actually protecting yourself by staying where it feels comfortable. So let's look at, what are you really afraid of? Because often the fear isn't the money itself, it's what comes with it. So maybe you're afraid of being visible, bigger visibility. I know women who feels like this, right? Or maybe more responsibility, because if you have more, you've got to work out how to handle more, right? The risk of judgment from friends or family. Oh, I know that touched a nerve with somebody right now. Or losing the identity of the struggler, the giver, or the one who always makes it work. So losing your identity. Or personality change. You're now going to be a greedy person, or perceived as a greedy person, even though you know that none of those things are true. Wealth challenges how we see ourselves, and that can feel scary. I remember when I was a teenager and I was speaking to a family member, and I can't remember how we got on to talking about rich, because it's not a topic that came up a lot. But I remember this family member saying to me that they never want to be rich. And I thought it was a strange thing to say at the time, because innocent, I don't know, maybe I just started working, so maybe late teens, early 20s, right? But at the time I left it, but that conversation never left me, or that statement never left me up to this day. I remembered it the other day, and I'm thinking, that person said to me they don't want to be rich, right? And it troubled me. Firstly, I would say, well, define rich. That's a whole nother subject. But hey, more money exposes more of you. So if you're stingy or you're tight with your money, having more will just expose how stingy and tight you are. If you're a generous person and you like giving to those less fortunate than you, then having more is only going to allow you to do more of that and to be more generous. So it's not even about being rich, right? Because if you have nothing, how are you going to be able to help anybody? So you need to be able to make peace with having more. And here's how to shift it. Recognize the old stories, recognize what you're telling yourself, and ask yourself, whose voice is this? Is it the voice of your parents? Is it your culture, your religion, or a past experience? And then redefine what wealth means to you. Not greed, not guilt rather. But wealth is freedom, right? Freedom to choose, freedom to impact people. I remember being at a seminar years ago, and the person giving the talk was saying how he lived off of 5% of his earnings and gave away 95%. Wow. Imagine that. Whatever you earn, you're able, and he had money clearly, he was able to live off of just 5% of it, and 95% of it he gave away. Imagine doing that. Imagine a family member falling on really hard times, and instead of being trapped into the government scheme, right, you were the person that were able to offer them some help. You could say to them, I can cover your bills for 6 months until you get back on your feet. Or I can help you to get back on your feet in whichever way you can. Visualize the empowered version of you with wealth. How does she move? How does she speak? How does she lead? And get familiar with her. She's not scary. She's you elevated, calm, clear, confident, and generous. That's you. So remember, the fear of wealth is real and it is common. It shows up in undercharging, avoidance, and sabotage. But you can rewrite the story and welcome more into your life with grace. So let me know, have you ever felt uncomfortable with receiving more? And let's talk about it in the comments. And if this episode gave you clarity, please share and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching Money Moves for Women in Business. This is the final episode in this series. Here's to building wealth that feels good, not just looks good. See you soon.